to our next item. Mr. Mannelly also has the next item. He gets to be here for a little bit. Our meet and confer. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, President Trujillo, Governing Board and Superintendent, I am very proud to offer for your adoption our meet and confer process that came about. We had some public speaking that was in support of that. I was able to come in at the tail end of a couple of the last meet and confer meetings, and we really came to some equitable pieces. Some of the highlights included a rate for extra hour work. We took a look at the master salary schedule. Took a look at the classroom site fund pieces that would fit more readily into the M&O piece to give the district a better standing. We took a look at the district calendars and agreed to those pieces. And then we also took a look at a PTO buyback piece that we're going to try to pilot this upcoming year based on the already board adopted percentages of PTO accrual, and then having that capped at a reasonable rate so that we can take a look at how it works this year, and then hopefully meet again with Meet and Confer and see how that went and keep that ball rolling. But without further ado, I would ask for you to adopt the work agreement pieces that Pecta and the team has come up with.
Will we be hearing from Pecta?
No, we just want to hear from Pecta, your experience being at the table. You know, how did we get to this point where this agreement occurred?
Well, I think, like I shared earlier in my community comment, it was a very collaborative process. So every year, Pecta, and this is my third year as it's my second year chairing, my third year as a co-chair, and my fourth year on the Meet and Confer team. It was actually, this I think was the most collaborative process that we've ever had. So every year we survey the entire staff of the district, all certified staff, because Pecta does represent all certified staff, whether they are members or not. So we really looked into the data and what people were asking for. And we brought those asks to the table with the understanding that some of our asks were maybe a little big, but we were like, hey, just where can we meet with this? And really, I think the district team did a great job, and Mr. Mannelly as well, coming in and saying, okay, like, this is the reality. This is what we've got, and here's what we can do. And then also, Vice President Bueno, thank you for showing up and also being a support, and I think representing kind of both sides there for us. It was, I think, a really positive experience, very collaborative, and we're all very proud of the work that went into this.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you to all the Pecta leadership team for all their hard work. I know you guys started this process months ago, so I'm glad that we were able to get somewhere and ready to approve this.
And Marnee, I just have a question. As someone who co-chaired through this process, what are some highlights that we should be especially proud of, or for teachers that through this meeting?
Well, I think some of the things that we can be especially proud of are, we came to an agreement with staff prep days. Those were something that were overwhelmingly asked. I think something like 84% of the responses to our survey had just said, hey, we're seeing other districts doing this, and could we do this? And then bringing that back to the table and saying, okay, well, what could that actually look like? And how do we do something that's going to be beneficial for everybody? Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned in my community comment, although we may have different ideas about how to get there, I think both the district team and the Pecta team, we're all here at the end of the day. We're here for student outcomes, and that's, I think, what we all care about the most. So that's something we're really proud of. This PTO buyback program that Mr. Mannelly, is it Mannelly or Mannelly?
Mannelly, it's 3 syllables.
Mannelly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. All right. That he had mentioned before is also a really big deal, because I think, we had a lot of comments earlier in the year just about how using PTO isn't always available. Just unfortunately, with where we are at currently with public education, we don't always have staff to cover those absences, or, so if you're planning an absence, you might not be able to take that time off. And so PTO doesn't really become as much of a benefit when you can't utilize it how and when you'd like to. And so, being able to recognize that, yes, this is your PTO and it does have a monetary value, I think is a really huge thing. And the fact that this PTO buyback program that we're talking about isn't just for people who are leaving, but perhaps for a staff member who is at the end of the year and saying, you know what, I just had this, horrible financial circumstance, like my car exploding or whatever, and I can cash in some of my PTO and maybe not be in such a difficult position. And I think that's something that, we should all be very grateful for, because I don't know many districts who show that level of care for their staff.
Thank you. And know that we're always working to bargain in good faith with the information that we have. And I know that compensation study is one of them. So I can't wait till it's released. And so you all can look at it and if need be, make improvements where they need to be improved for our students, for our teachers, and then for our students, of course. So thank you for
Absolutely.
everything.
And one other thing I would like to say, now that you've mentioned that, is when we were updating our professional agreement, we were able to go through and say, last year we had asked for we'd asked for in our professional agreement, a salary schedule. And within a year, Pecta was able to be part of the process of selecting JB Reward Systems and meeting with JB Reward Systems and giving input. And, for that to happen within a year, to go from not having a salary schedule in place to now potentially having a salary schedule in place, I think really speaks volumes about the collaborative nature of this process. Again, I just say thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I was looking for. I know we don't have our study on the agenda anymore. We pushed that back. So does that salary schedule go with this item?
So the agreement the PECTA's agreed with the framework for how that should work. So the equity framed master's calendar, and using classroom site funds to make sure that everyone is treated with equity. That's what this agreement reflects. So the details will be coming shortly, and then at the next board meeting, we'll go over that with a fine tooth comb and hopefully agree and move on into the future with an equitable master schedule that we can stand behind.
Got it. So it's separate from this item.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
I just have two questions. How, as Marnee mentioned, districts do not do things all the same. So how do we let potential new teachers know that we do these things? I know that word of mouth is a great recruiter, so start talking. No, but also, like, what is the plan?
This is something that once approved, we need to be very intentional about it. There are several things that Phoenix #1 does that other districts do not. And what's being mentioned here is one of them. Later, you will hear about our benefits and how we're probably the single district now that covers that for our employees. So for us, it's very important that we put it out on the webpage, that we make sure that there's intentional efforts being put out there, including word of mouth, which we know that it's very strong. But we just have to make sure that we hit every single communication way of doing things so that our teachers can, #1, feel valued, and we can continue with a high retention rate. But we also want to make sure that other people are hearing about Phoenix #1 so we can continue to get high qualified, high quality individuals to come and work for our students. So intentional is ultimately what we need to be.
Beautiful. And then my second question was just on the in-service days following breaks. I know that it says something about keeping instructional time consistent and making those Wednesdays full days. Did we do that because we legally could not reduce the instructional time, or because as a leadership team, we didn't want to? Anyone know? It's okay
I
if you don't know.
believe that was a conversation that the
the meet and confer team agreed to on their own, that
Okay.
it was important for students to have time with their teachers, but that the teachers needed the time to plan and prepare in a full day chunk.
Okay.
So yeah, when we brought that, actually, I want to again shout out the district team because it was like, yeah, we're down to do this. So it can either cost money or it can cost students instructional time. And before I'm anything, and before I think anyone in Pecta is anything, we're teachers. And I was like, nope, we're not losing instructional time, and I don't think it has to cost money. Can we look at another solution? And the district team was like, yeah, what do you have? And so, we came up with the idea of extending either a Friday prior or previous before a extended break, or some of the half-day Wednesdays. And we actually did go, myself and the Vice President, John Franklin, went to one of the parent meetings and kind of answered questions and presented this. And by and large, families were, really supportive of the idea.
What type of parent meeting? Sorry.
They attended the Family and Community Engagement Task Force
Oh, I
and talked
see.
to the task force about the idea.
Okay. I would still like a board update on whether or not it's a legal amount of time, or whether it's just, does that make sense? Like if we, are you following me?
I
Thank
am
you.
understanding your question, and we'll give you a board
If
update
someone's
on.
following me.
Yeah, we
Thank
just
you.
need to make sure whether this was something that we could have done without needing the instructional minutes. And so we'll get that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I would like to motion to approve the 2023-2024 Phoenix Elementary Classroom Teacher Association Meet and Confer recommendations.
Alicia Vink, I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, may we please have a roll call vote, Mrs. Valencia, to approve this item?
Roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Mr. Regional Carrillo,
Aye.
Dr. Alicia Vink,
Aye.
Ms. Erica de la Rosa,
Aye.
and President Carmen Trujillo.
Aye.
Thank you.
With that, our motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody. For carrying out